28 July 2022. In today's presentation of this and that and what a fuck, I have got a variety of small topics. There are some that I will elaborate on, but most the snippets just to put a general view of what's going on in this crazy world of us on the record. The things that is happening in Europe is disturbing. The things that is going to happen to the citizens of Europe is absolutely horrendous. And what astounds me is that the leadership, they just cruise on as if nothing is wrong. They keep on telling lies and stories and things like that. I saw an interview where the interviewer asked the chairman of the EC Bank what is he going to do about the debt that is out of control and the high inflation. And she answers him, it will come down, guys. Let's not fool one another. There is idiots in charge of our lives. The first topic is a post that I saw on Twitter. Black Zimbabweans are a perfect example to black South Africans why the black man is his own worst enemy and will be until the end of time. They kept Mugabe in power for 37 years while not agreeing with his policies and ended up following the whites to South Africa. Now, there's a lot of truth in that, and obviously the racist chorus will jump up and cry and scream and rip their hair out and all of that, but these are facts. These are simple facts. Zimbabwe was one of the breadbaskets of Africa, and with racist laws and white hatred, those blacks destroyed their economy. Unfortunately, here in South Africa, the ANC and the EFF is driving the exact same agenda. They do not understand that white people are focused on bettering their lives, and in the process they create opportunities for everybody around them. But let's see where this is going to end. There are things that are unraveling in South Africa at a massive rate. And the racists, they are beginning to feel the heat. The population has had enough of that nonsense. The population wants service. The population wants jobs. The population is not interested in this skin color war that some politicians are waging against white people. The next post is something to take note of. US-China great power rivalry was over before it started. China has won the rivalry by developing its internal capabilities and establishing solid trade relations with the world. The US lost the rivalry by being arrogant, reckless, and disrespectful in its racial relations with the world. Now, there's a lot of truth in what that guy is posting there. The main thing is that, and I'm going to do a Skidmark about the role of the US in the current fiasco that is all around us, around the globe. But the US is overplaying its hand, and I cannot understand that American citizens, normal Americans, day-to-day operators in that country, is allowing a small, selected, unselected in many cases, elite to screw everything up for everybody. I see things coming in America which the elite is not going to like. And then we get to Trump. And I know, he makes many people very uncomfortable. Trump slams US aid to Ukraine. The EU has given Kiev only a tiny fraction of what Washington has, the former president said. The US has too many problems of its own to hand money and weapons to Ukraine for its conflict with Russia. former US President Donald Trump has said. It's Europe that should be providing more help to Kiev, as it's far more affected by the situation, he insisted, speaking at the Student Action Summit in Tampa, Florida. Trump recalled how he pushed for NATO members in the EU to increase their defense spending to 2% of their GDP during his presidency. Back then, the US was taken advantage of by Europe, and now the same thing is happening again over Ukraine. Now, I got this from Alex from the Duran, and it was something to take note of. Here's more on that. We've so far given more than $60 billion to Ukraine. Well, the European countries, who are obviously far more affected than us, have given a tiny fraction of that number, the ex-president noted. If he were still in office, he could have gone over there to Europe and said, listen, you're going to put up the same money or more money than us, and they would have done it gladly, Trump claimed. Oh, okay, maybe a little bit of an arrogant statement, but the bottom line is, what the hell is America doing in the Ukraine? Why are they involved there? Ukraine is far away from them. They've got more than enough shit in America to resolve for their own citizens than to go and get involved in this nonsense there in the Ukraine. But the newcons, the warmongers, they are the only people that are benefiting here, and the military-industrial complex. And the citizens better wake up in America. These leaders of them are throwing their future away, flushing it down the toilet. And I made this post on Twitter, and it got a lot of responses. Fun fact, the moral decay of the West is well documented. What if Russia became the final seat of Western civilization? The only place where Western values survive. From what I see, it might be true. Now just read that and think about it. And then we come to this joke. And due to many reasons, I cannot be specific or explicit about it. I need you to take a look at what you see on the screen and see. US President Biden, pestilence symptoms have now almost completely resolved. White House. He only notes some residual nasal congestion and minimal hoarseness, the president's doctor said in a memorandum addressed to the press secretary. Guys, we've been taken for a ride. And then this is interesting. China's population to start shrinking by 2025. Chinese state media has cited health officials claiming that the country's population growth has slowed so much that the total residence figures will start shrinking within 3 years. New data released Sunday showed many provinces recording their lowest birth rates in decades, such as Henan, which only saw 500,000 births last year. A new law instigated in 2021, allowing women to have 3 children, has failed to curb the falling birthing rates. This is interesting, and it's natural. It has been shown all over the world. The moment that people's quality of life starts improving, they start reducing the numbers of children, because they realize that to give those children the best opportunity takes money, and they cannot have 7 children and a budget that can only support 3. And that's the way it works. Unfortunately, in Africa we have a problem because of low education and really low living standards that is still boosting this breeding out of control. But time will change. It's all over the world. The better the citizens do, the lower the population growth. And this is an important thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the heading is, China would respond military if Nancy Pelosi visits Taiwan. I cannot understand what the hell is the US thinking. What do they want to gain by doing this? They aggravated and agitated Russia for years, since 1997, with the damn NATO expansion toward the east. Kept on prodding that bear, And now, those dimwits has turned their eyes towards Taiwan. Now they want to prod the dragon. You know, just imagine for a moment, because the fact is, the Chinese is definitely not going to be as restrained as the Russians. What happens if the Chinese decides, man, we've had enough, zap, and they sink one of those aircraft carriers? What will happen? My greatest fear is that those idiots in Washington will lose their minds completely and start a nuclear war. And that they will wipe the earth out. We really need to think seriously about who the hell is in charge of our lives. This cannot continue. And then we come to one that I really want to elaborate on. Your worst nightmare have arrived. The World Economic Forum and Chairman Klaus Schwab plan to take away your cars, not their cars and not their private jets, but your right to drive your car on our roads. Private car ownership is a wasteful and must be ended. The World Economic Forum calls to end wasteful private car ownership. The globalist elites says too many people own private vehicles for the planet's good. Who the hell are these guys? Who gave them the authority? And what I cannot understand is that the world population cannot claim ignorance. These crunts are promoting their agenda, publishing it wide, implanting us with chips, taking our food away and feeding us worms, taking our cars away and making us walk. Who the hell are they? Where did they get the authority? But the most important question, why are we allowing them to continue with this? These people really need to be removed from society. They are a handful of elites and they are trying to run the lives of 7 billion people. And then this is connected to the previous one. Never forget the world's elite put $1 million limousines on $1 billion jets to fly around the world to tell you to reduce your carbon footprint. Think about it. And then we get to something, once again, I cannot elaborate verbally too much. You must read what you are seeing on the screen there. Pause the thing and read through it. But that is what they did. And it was the medium and small business owners. They were devastated and the wealth was moved. I mean, I saw it here in my own country. The guy with a little fish and chip shop could not operate. The lady selling nuts and dried fruit could not operate. But the big chain shops, they were allowed to operate freely. This was not right, and we were caught with our pants down. Workers lost 3.7 trillion in earnings during the pandemic. Women and Gen Z saw the biggest losses. The world's billionaires get richer by 3.9 trillion. Think about it. And then Trump again. Who else? We believe in two genders, says former President Trump. Speaking in Florida on Saturday, Trump denounced the spread of woke ideology in schools and the military, stating that American conservatives believe in God, American pride, and other traditional values, unlike the forces we're fighting. They believe in left-wing gender ideology and toxic critical race theory. We believe in two genders. There are men and there are women. Two genders, said the former president. He also slammed Joe Biden's time in the White House, arguing that the US had gone from the strongest that it has ever been to perhaps the weakest, especially when you include recognition and respect from all around the world. We are not respected any longer by anybody. Love him, hate him. He speaks the truth and he is not afraid to speak. I like that. I am still 100% sure if he was still in charge, the Ukraine war would never have happened. And then we get to the what the fuck. Obviously we must have a what a fuck. And who else than Boris Johnson Bojo the Clown. Boris Johnson planning a farewell trip to the Ukraine. What? The outgoing Prime Minister is planning a third and final visit to Ukraine to assure President Vladimir Zelensky of the UK's unwavering support. Johnson feels responsible because he was the biggest supporter of the Ukraine. Listen, I can carry on about this for a long time, but I'm not going to do it. This up is unreal. And look now, what the fuck is he going to do in Ukraine? He has basically ruined England. He has ruined his own country. His own country is in shambles. But what? He will go and visit his buddy in Kiev. And, okay, maybe we must not be too rough on the guy. He's got to go and get his last stash before he retires out of the political life. And here comes the real what the fuck. I believe this oak has now been touted to become the Secretary General of NATO. Well, Europe, buckle up. You are going to be in a war in no time between Boris in the NATO and Liz in the UK. You guys are going to get a war that they will start. And they think the US is going to rush in to save their asses. It's not going to happen. The US has got troubles of its own. And on that bright and shiny note, have a nice day. Oh yes, and hit the like, hit the subscribe, share the shit out of this thing, man. It's hard to get traction. Lekker dag.